While we're talking about soldiers,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of these PMC differences. Looking at these cards, I've got a couple here. I've got Smith at level 5, and then let's
Cool.
take Harvey at level 2. He's a squad soldier at that level.
Do you know which expansion is it?
What's that?
Do you know what expansion number that is?
This is P2-2 and P7, so they're both in
Yeah.
the core set.
Yeah. Yeah. He's your corpsman.
Yeah, he's my corpsman. He's the one who kind of looks like
Yeah.
Dan Verssen.
Yeah.
He's on the light Kevlar card as well. So these soldiers still have RP costs, just like soldiers in Modern or Shadow War or World War II. But that is turned into thousands of dollars when you're putting your squads together. That
Yeah.
becomes their salary. That number up there in at the top of the card that is their RP becomes their salary,
Yeah.
and you have to pay that monthly,
Yeah.
and that's going to be overhead. Now, these cards say what they come with, just like they do in Warfighter, any of the other versions. So, like Smith, he comes with an AR-15 or an M4 carbine and light Kevlar armor. That's factored into his cost, just like if he had a skill. You're not going to pay additional points for a skill or equipment if they come with it. Harvey's only 2 RP, which translates into 2,000 resource points or $2,000. And for that, he's a steal because he comes with a first aid kit, light Kevlar, the corpsman skill, except he has the B hit +4.
And he has fragile too.
Which is interesting because he only has 1 wound.
Yeah.
Fragile
Yeah.
is a good rule too. It's an interesting detrimental rule. I say it's a good rule. It's a good game mechanic. What fragile does is if the soldier would be wounded, he's downed instead, right?
Yeah, I think Fragile 1, treat is down for the remainder of the mission if you suffer a wound.
Right.
And then Fragile 2, which is what Harvey has, is treat is down for the remainder of the mission if you suffer a suppress. So if this guy gets shot at all, he is just out of here. I'm not doing this. And
And he takes his first aid kit with him.
yeah, he's out. Yeah, which I think, there's some good. I wouldn't say good. There's some bad synergy and it is synergy that happens because especially when you have a bunch of lower ranking soldiers, you may have a couple of guys with Panic or Panic 2, and Panic 2 says suffer a suppress each time another soldier is wounded or downed. So if you have 3 soldiers, you could have a guy with Panic 2, somebody else gets shot. He then suffers a suppress because of that. And then you have Fragile, where tree is down if you suffer a suppressor wound. So you may have the Fragile 2 guy get shot, suppressed. He then is down. Your Edgy or your Panic 3 guy is then also downed. And it's just you could just have a colossal problem on your hands if any of these guys see a lick of combat that they aren't killing.
That's what we call a cascading failure in the software business. And it's great. I mean, because these guys aren't pros, and it gives that feel to it. Or they can be, but you're going to pay. The more you pay, the better you get, just like with any job. And you had mentioned before, I'm not sure if it was on Facebook or in one of our many conversations, that you wanted the best that a PMC could be to be your average highly trained U.S. soldier.
Yeah.
So there are no PMCs that are better than any of the soldiers. They're just that level, and you're really paying for them. A card that would cost you, maybe 12 RP in Modern or World War II is a 22-point card in Warfighter PMC. I think that's Smith at level 6 is 22 points, for example. Now, let's talk about that number in parentheses underneath the RP. What is that?
That is your reputation or raise. And one of the game design, pulling back the curtain a little bit, we had reputation because we really wanted to show that as your company is there, as it's completing more and more missions, it's kind of that walk softly but carry a big stick type mentality of you're completing contracts, you're collecting a lot of money. Other contractors or other companies are starting to like step back. Certain contracts are only available to you because you have this aura around you. And so we also introduced it with the PMCs themselves, saying that they would only ask for a raise if your reputation was lower. But if your reputation was high enough, they would say, this is a good company, this is a safe company, I don't need to worry about my job being lost tomorrow, I'm going to stay with my pay grade. And I really like how, as you increase your reputation bit by bit, suddenly when you start promoting your PMCs starting in month 3 or whatever are going to cost you a whole lot less than the PMCs you had from the very beginning. Because those very beginning guys, you didn't have the reputation for, and now they're costing you 20 grand a month.
Right. So if that number is hero points, right? So once Smith has 7 hero points, I either have to give he's going to level up to level 6,
Yeah,
just like if I was playing
yeah,
IIF. If my reputation
yeah,
is 10 plus, I still get to pay him his level 5 salary. Otherwise, I have
yeah,
to pay him his level 6 salary.
yeah,
So that's just one
yeah.
more one
And
more detail you got to manage here, which is great.
yeah. And I like these guys are getting a bit big for their britches type
Right.
mindset.
Maybe Vizini
You can
Corp wants
have
to hire him away.
yeah, and you can have a situation where you're paying a guy very minimally because he feels safe, he's good at his job, but you now realize he's about to promote, or if you just send him on a mission, you're going to have to promote him just due to how the hero points all cycle out. And so now it's this shoot. I'm not going to send you on this mission. You're going to think to yourself, I like to think of it as you've gotten better, your skills have gotten better, you're better in combat, whatever, and you're going to think of yourself as better, and you're going to want more money. And my company isn't big enough to be able to facilitate. I'm
Right.
going to send you on those missions, or I am send you on that mission, and at the end of the month, get rid of you and not have to pay that money.
Just one more thing as a manager I have to worry about. This is why I don't do real world management. All right, let's talk about, because we're getting a little long in the video. Um, let's talk about getting contracts. I've got my PMCs put together. I've hired guys. I do want to mention you can buy additional gear for your company and assign it to guys. That's not overhead cost. That's a single purchase. And I'll go over some of that in the play videos too, to be sure. But let's talk about how I get a contract so I can start doing missions and start making some money.
Yeah, it's you take all the contract cards that you have, you shuffle them together, which in the core game I believe is just Baghdad Embassy and Baghdad itself,
Yeah.
and I believe in each expansion, besides maybe 4, because that has a bunch of soldiers in it, you get additional areas that you can possibly go on contracts of things like there's a military base that you're guarding, or another one is there's like a vehicle compound that you need a vehicle yourself in order to take those contracts. But you draw your contract based on what your company type is, plus or minus how good your lawyer is. I think your lawyer affects that. And what I like is you have your bid, which normally starts at like $30 to $40 to $50,000. But then there's other companies out there, each trying to get their own bid, and the U.S. government saying we don't care who does it, whoever does it the cheapest will get it though. And
Exactly.
so the money slowly drops, but now, aha, I get it. And the 30,000 bid is now down to like 24,000. We then have the term, and what I try to put a lot of variety in that because some missions have a very low threat level, like a threat level of 1 or less, 0 or less, but they're like 8 weeks. And so odds are you're going to be drawing escalation count 2 or 3 times and then suddenly have to go on this big beefy mission. But in those middle times, you don't need to send anybody there because there's a real low chance of anything happening. And we tried to build a lot of personality into these because at the end of the day, a warfighter mission is a warfighter mission.
Right.
And these contracts, missions, and the objectives are all the flavor that we had to show why saving a regional VIP is a lot different than taking out some insurgent patrols.
Fair. I've got insurgent sweeps here in my hand, and that's in the core set. And
Yeah,
then I've got a couple of competitors here. I have Sitrep Intel and Darkwater. Very clever, by the way. Now, when I go to bid on this contract, and I'm going to draw 3 contracts at the start of each month,
yeah,
it's got that first value is the bid, and
yeah,
that's how much I'm going to make from that contract, right? I'm going to make $20,000 off this contract. So I'm going to bid, and the way that I bid is I actually roll for my 2 competitors, and they have a
yeah,
bidding value. And if they get or exceed their bidding value, like at the hit number, they're bidding on this contract too.
yeah,
If that happens, I go into another round of bidding, but the value of the contract is lowered by that second number under comp.
yeah,
So for this one, minus 2,000. So now the contract's only worth 18,000.
yeah,
But in order that's not so attractive to my competitors, because for each round of bidding on a contract, I'm going to increase the number that they need to roll by 1, or I'm going to subtract 1 from the roll, tomato, tomato, until I either give up on that contract and go for one of the other ones, or I win the contract. But I could wind up getting this $20,000 contract only as a $15,000 contract.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's just, yeah.
that's not how you make money on the contracts, is it?
No, it's not.
No. You'll see there under mission, it says what missions you run for this. It's an
Yeah,
insurgency contract. The threat is 1, so you're going to roll a d10 each week for each of your contracts, and if you roll that number or less, something happens. Um, and then it says engaged, and there's a number and a bonus. So when I get an engagement, I immediately take that $60,000 bonus, for example, from this contract, and I put it in the bank.
yeah,
That's how I'm going to make my money on contracts. I want engagements. It's a risk reward. So once that happens, I start making money, but I've got to run that mission. And like you said, if I roll, if I don't get a threat that first week, I'm going to put a random
yeah,
escalation counter on this. That's going to increase the number that I need to roll under, but it's also going to add other things. It could add a hero point for the mission.
yeah,
It could increase my reputation, but it's also going to increase the hostile value for that mission. And
yeah,
that is dangerous because unlike Warfighter, where you buy your squad for an RP cost and then you put your squad together at that cost, as you do your mission, each location card and the objectives tell you how many hostiles, how many XP worth of hostiles to draw based on your squad cost. That's not the way it works in PMC. The mission flat out says what the RP threat is. So I could get an insurgent sweep mission. I could get the booby trap, bombs, bomb factories, whatever. It's going to say 20 RP, and that's how many XP worth of hostile I'm playing as. What it says on the card for 20 RP. But that could be increased by escalation counters. I could be playing 60 RP worth of hostiles, and that happened to me on a trap uh, escape mission. It was a 40 RP mission by default, and then I was plus 40 from escalation counters. So I've got what turns out to maybe be a 35-point squad as far as the RP goes, playing missions like I'm an 80-point RP squad.
yeah. Things got out of hand.
They get out of hand quick. So that's something to remember when you look at those contracts. And some of them have bonuses for if you succeed at the contract. You'll get a reputation boost. If you fail to complete a contract, especially a simple contract, you lose reputation. Um,
Yeah,
it's really great the way that the contracts are put together because you really got to think about what you're bidding. Some of them are 4 weeks, which means you're going to be able to run more contracts. Some of them are 8. I think there's got to be something longer than that. I think I saw a 10-week, 5-week. There's a handful of contracts to choose from, so it's not going to get boring in the bidding process. Just like there's got to be what 15, 20 competitors too. Well, maybe 10, but there's quite a few competitors, and they have different effects. Like Darkwater, you don't subtract from its bidding rolls after each bidding round. They always bid at 6+ because they're the big
Yeah,
bad, 400
yeah.
pound gorilla in the room because they're this huge corporation putting my little mom and pop military contractor out of business.
Mm,
So I have my contracts. I have to assign soldiers to my contracts each month, right? Or is it for each
yeah.
contract?
Yeah, you need to assign at least one player soldier to each contract.
Right.
And then you can also assign any number of extras.
Right, but it's got to be at least one, and but I have to assign whoever I'm going to use for that contract to that contract. Right, I can't borrow Harvey from a different contract to go on this other one.
Yeah, yeah. I believe I don't want to say anything to be quoted here, but I believe week by week you can reallocate both people and gear to different contracts. So I believe you can say this has drawn a lot of escalation counters, this one isn't as risky. I'm going to pull some soldiers from this contract to this one, and then make your die roll to see it if there's any threat that pops up.
Yes, that is each week. I think looking here at the board,
Good.
and that's good to be able to do. But if you've only got one player soldier, you can only bid on one contract.
Yeah.
That's something to keep in mind. So you're not going to be racking up those contract bonuses. The temptation for me was to save money to begin with, so I had money while I was playing. You're going to have to
Yeah.
spend that money up front. And you don't actually have to spend the money itself until that first month. You're going to pay your overhead, including your employee salaries. So when I took Smith, who's $15,000 a month, I didn't pay $15,000 for him to take him to begin with and then pay a salary at the beginning of the month. Like you said, you just put everything in front of you that you want, and then that first
Yeah.
month you deduct those costs.
Yeah.
But these bonuses are good. If you get an engage bonus, you're going to get a $20,000 bonus, an $80,000 bonus. So you're going to get money once these contracts start going off, and they're going to go off. You'd be hard pressed to have a 4-week contract that didn't have at least 2 engagements, if not 3, because those escalation counters kick in.
And something that's neat about this is we'd originally gone with all terms being 4 weeks, but I liked the flexibility of being able to set some terms in 4 week intervals of 4 weeks and 8 weeks, but then others at 2, 3, 6, 10 weeks, whatever, because I like the idea of if you decide you're going to start this 10-week contract, you know for the next 2.5 months you're going to have to dedicate soldiers to this, which may mean that you won't be able to do other contracts, but you're going to have a continual source of money, as well as some contracts give you a lot of money once you've completed them. And so you have this sort of at week 3 of 4, suddenly you get a bunch of money. And it's like, whoa, this is great. This will pay me off a week before I actually need to spend any money. But the 6 week contract, I'm going to engage 6 times, or I'm going to have 6 weeks here. For the first 4 weeks, I'm only going to be seeing a bit of engagement money, but I'm not going to be getting a lot more besides that. But here next month, that's when I'm going to pull in a lot of money. And it kind of, we did that to have sort of a feeling of when you don't live paycheck to paycheck,
Right.
of it's, we're going to make a lot of money now, but 6 months from now, we're going to get a huge check. And we wanted players to have that feeling.
Oh, it's definitely there. Something worth mentioning, we talk about failing contracts, and if you lose soldiers, say I lost my player soldier, say I have 2 player soldiers and 2 contracts. If I
Yeah.
lose a player soldier, if he's downed permanently, I can't complete one of those contracts. That counts as failing the contract.
Yeah. Yeah. U.S.
Something,
government, they want their contract fulfilled.
right? Something to keep in mind. And so once you have an engagement, it's worth mentioning, I think, the mission that you pick is random. You have a stack of mission cards for each mission type: embassy, insurgency, military base, Some of these are from the expansion. I think military base is from the expansion, so is facilities. Um, and you're going to randomly pick that mission, and that mission tells you what the objective is.
Yeah.
And so these are assignments that are coming down. You're not cherry picking. Um, and I like that element. I like the command aspect of that. You're being commanded by someone else. There's somebody higher above you making those decisions for you, or those things that happen. Some of the missions are like the trap. You don't have any, that you were ambushed. Now you have to get out. That kind of thing.
So the next thing I was thinking of talking about
Mm-hmm.
is the PMC. I believe they're called stress cards,
Yes.
and these are the red cards that if you have a PMC, you have to shuffle into the action deck.
Right.
And so what we did with that was we opened it up to, if you're playing PMC, these are just the PMC backed cards. You play with them as normal. But if you wanted to take a PMC with normal soldiers in a normal Warfighter daytime or Shadow War mission or whatever, you could, but you do have to suffer these stress cards. And there was a lot of design going back and forth on how these would work. But overall, I really like how, unless if you have the experience to get rid of them, you suffer this negative either now, or you continually suffer this negative until you fulfill something, to show that this PMC is slow at reloading, or has nerves, or he's hesitant, or his weapon keeps jamming because he doesn't know how to clean it or clear the jam. And I like how it was yet another way of saying, these guys are not professionally trained soldiers. We're going to hit them with every negative that if I was in Iraq with an AR-15, how would I fare that we could.
Right. And these just get shuffled into the deck. They get shuffled into your action deck, and the minute you draw it, you have to resolve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking like at nerves. It says a random PMC squad soldier or a random non-player soldier, or you can spend 2 XPs to ignore it. That soldier has to waste an action before he can move. So you just use an action for no reason. Doesn't mean you can use an action to attack and then move.
Yeah.
It doesn't say take an action, waste it. So your action's gone. But as a little consolation, on his next turn, he gets an extra action.
Yeah.
And that's here on a lot of the, if not all, those stress cards. And I kind of like that the backs are different, even though you're shuffling them into the action deck, because it just creates more tension on you as a player, because you know something bad's about to happen, because you can see that card sitting on the top of the deck before you draw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, we wanted to hurt the player of, you're not a professionally trained soldier, you're going to be slow, you're going to hesitate, your weapon's going to jam, whatever. But then also say, for overcoming this difficulty, you get something for it to show that you're like learning and improving as a person, and sort of that level up feeling that you would feel in an RPG of, I've overcome adversity and now I get a thing.
Right.
That's what we wanted the stress cards to be.
And they're not brutal. I mean, there's none of them that says your PMC runs away. Well, maybe there is. I didn't draw one yet. But like, there's hesitation, and there's no effect on that card. It's just you see that red card coming, and that's where the stress comes from.
So I think is one of the final points to talk about for the PMC core, as well as the 4 expansions currently out. There's the epic and legendary hostiles.
Yes.
Have you played with those yet?
Well, I have. Yes, I have. They're not an optional rule, I don't think, but I would have used it anyway. They're just more intense hostiles, and you start out with none of them in your deck, but then after the completion of a mission, you start adding those to the hostile deck, right?
Yeah.
Right. And you have legendary and epic versions of the already nasty hostiles.
Yeah. Yeah, and normally I think we have a normal epic, one legendary of all of the hostel, or most of the hostels in the core PMC. And we mostly, this was to show that the hostels themselves are getting better in the 6 months that you're there, to show that at the very beginning the hostels are just as untrained as you are.
Right.
But as you go through engagements, only the best of the hostels survive. They're getting better training, they're getting better supplies, and so that's when they start gaining abilities. or adding range to their attacks, where before they were 0, now they're range 0 to 1. They have
Right.
a better chance of wounds again, multiple wounds. And we wanted to show that these guys are getting better and better, so it's not like at level 1 you're killing rats and at level 20 you're killing rats, like in
Right.
a D&D type thing. It's you're going to be killing a dragon at level 20.
Absolutely. And
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 we,
that dragon has rats too, because you don't ever take the other hostiles out of the deck.
yeah, oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
rats surrounding
Yeah.
the
There's
dragon.
recruits coming in. Ew.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, I think the epic suicide bomber.
Oh.
Yeah, he does all the wounds. He does kills, kill all, destroy. He's fearless.
Does he even
Yeah, it was
have
a lot.
malfunction?
He does on a
Okay.
1 or less. It was a debate of should he just on a 1 or less get the miss so he can continue to roll. But then it was, well, a suicide bomber kind of only has 1 string to its bow. It kind of always does the exploding, so it should explode no matter what.
Right.
But it only explodes,
Yeah. That's.
which with your B hits, if you have a B hit plus 3, you may
Ugh.
go from a function all the way up to a 2 wounds all destroy.
Ugh.
Seeing the excitement drain out of you.
Right. So let's talk about that. B hit. Say I have
Yeah,
a B hit of 2, and he has a
yeah.
malfunction of 1. If I roll a 1, he doesn't malfunction, right?
He does not.
Right.
You were close enough that the blast did hit you.
Hmm.
Yeah,
How very lucky. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
is definitely ups the odds a little bit. I like it. I'm gonna be doing a few videos on PMC next, and
Yeah.
we'll actually do the whole month process. But I think it was good to go over that with one of the designers. A,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of nuances to it that need to be mentioned, and B, it just kind of backs up what I've read in the rules too. And so that's what Kevin said.
I guess one final thing, I know I've said it a few times, is I was looking at Lucky Break. Did you assign Lucky Break to any of your soldiers?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Uh, the origin of Lucky Break is once per mission, after you suffer an attack, suffer no effect, then remove the skill from the soldier.
Oh yes,
Was
yes, I'm familiar
one,
with it. Yeah.
I didn't want people's top soldiers to just, or top PMCs to just get one shot killed
Right.
due to a good sniper or a suicide bomber or whatever. And I also like the idea of these guys kind of playing fast and loose with sort of the backwards baseball caps with the Ace of Spades logo
Right.
and the Superman type guys. And so I wanted to give players an option of being able to purchase a get out of jail free card with, once it's expended, I think it has like a small cost in the beginning. You can't repurchase it. You need to purchase Lucky Break 2. And then if you expend that Lucky Break, then you need to purchase Lucky Break 3, which has like a 25 RP cost, which I think is like by far the highest costing skill in the game.
Wow.
And I really like the feeling of you're getting out of jail, it's going to cost you a lot of money, and is it really worth giving this low level 3 NPS Lucky Break 2, or just fend for yourself, it's fine.
Right.
And I like players being able to make that decision.
And it's expended, and let's mention expended too. It's expended
Yeah.
for the campaign, not the mission.
Yeah.
You don't get all your
Yes.
grenades back. If you throw a grenade on a mission, you have to buy another grenade.
Yeah.
You're not buying a stockpile of grenades. You're buying a grenade. You don't buy ammo. I mean, the guns come with their ammo.
Yeah.
So you don't buy that base ammo. But everything else, I'm gonna buy a K-bar knife. I get to keep that. You buy that
Yeah.
grenade, you use it once. That's it. Lucky
Yeah.
break. You expend it. You expend it for good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real. I normally give all of the PMCs Lucky Break 1. Then, as they expend it, I make a real hard choice of are you worth purchasing a Lucky Break 2, or let's just hope a suicide bomber doesn't corner you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there's a lot of resource management, but it's fun. It gives you more to think about. There's that more of that
Yeah.
tactical, or rather that strategic planning element that this adds um, to the tactical game of Warfighter.
Yeah.
There is a lot of depth here. I'm glad there's only 4 expansions so far, but
Yeah.
there's another one coming, right?
There is. I'm a terrible person for forgetting the name of this expansion, but this expansion is not yet available, but here in about 3 to 4 months, so probably in the March to April range, we're going to have I think it's Easy Money.
I think it
And
is.
in this expansion, the original idea was actually come up with by someone on Facebook, Dave Laughlin, who we've worked with a lot.
Yeah, I've
He
seen that one a
worked,
lot.
yeah, he's worked on Warfighter. He did a lot of Pacific, a lot of research, a lot of creation, a lot of here's what was actually used in the Pacific, because I don't know everything that was used in World War II, but he's a very good historian with a good game sense of knowing how things come together and how to make stuff interesting. But he came up with a bank heist type PMC expansion
Oh,
where
right.
the two PMCs that you get are codenamed Bonnie and Clyde. And what's fun about them is Clyde has a pistol, kind of like Chi in PMC, the core game.
Right.
And he has some pretty good stats that level up. He gets really good at close range. He has rally and close combat, pistol and SMG. He also has a combat knife, and he's pretty good with HTH. Bonnie, though, has the SPAS 12 or SPAS 12, and she actually has an ability card that no prior PMC has of her SPAS 12 gains self-defense. And normal shotguns don't have self-defense, which self-defense, for those who don't know, is if you can attack with this weapon when you are being shot, you can expend an ammo and negate the attack. Normally, only pistols have this ability, and this is like a close range. An insurgent's firing at you with an AK-47. You whip out your pistol, you fire off a magazine, and he stops his attack because he's ducking for cover or whatever. Right. But her SPAS 12 gains a self-defense, and it also has penetration 1. Because we wanted this SPAS 12 to be like her iconic. So you can give her a TAR 21, you can give her an MP5 or whatever, but only her SPAS has all these cool stuff.
That's really cool.
The next new part is there's a whole new set of contracts, missions, and objectives, with the contracts being, and I came up with these names, so sorry, we have small heist, medium heist, big heist, huge heist, and colossal heist.
Very clever.
Yeah, that's that's that. Yeah, and for these contracts, you'll be able to show them on screen, and I'll show you the cards for these soon. These are threat 10 or less, but they're only 1 week. So you're gonna go up against these. The success normally gives you a bonus reputation. The failure, though, immediately end your campaign with a dismal result.
So this is like robbing the drug lord kind of missions, right?
Funnily enough, one of the missions and objectives pairing is Drug Lord's house.
Yeah,
and
we had talked about the movie Triple Frontier.
Yeah.
This is that kind of thing, and that's great. I can't wait to get my hands on that.
Yeah, and all of the contracts are 1 week. All of the threats are 10 or less, and most of them increase RP by anywhere from 10 to 4. But these are a single week, a single you do it, and the missions are all raid missions. And in these, there's like a Kingpin's house. And the Kingpin's house mission is a raid with the Kingpin's house objective. Now, all of these objectives something that hasn't been PMC or Warfighter before, get the wording right. For like the Drug Lord's house, for the Drug Lord's house objective, it is a structure, eliminate hostiles, collateral damage. Now, you'd wonder, why is there collateral damage in this Drug Lord's house? Well, that's because This is a raid mission type mission where if your soldiers keep clear 3, one soldier in the objective finds a $100,000 counter with a loadout 3 treatise 3 gear. So this means that if you can eliminate the hostiles, be done, and leave. But if you keep this area clear with huge reinforcement numbers, then you'll find $100,000 that you then need to get back to your, which if you complete, you get $100,000 extra dollars for completing this.
Wow. That's just going to add a whole new level to your decision-making process. I love that.
Yeah, it's you don't get anything for bidding on these contracts. There's
Right.
no bid. There's no you don't get anything for it. But if you complete it, in that case, you'll find $100,000. There's a corrupt officials house, which I typed up the flavor text for this, so I'm pretty proud of it. For the mission flavor text, it says, rumor has spread of a corrupt official who dug up some dirt on every PMC organization in Baghdad. If you find that list, you could edit it and send it to the United States government. The objective mechanical text is if soldiers keep clear 3 on this corrupt official's house, remove all competitors for the remainder of the campaign.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, are
So
these locations Middle East locations as well?
these are Baghdad house, and there's a whole bunch of Baghdad house locations. They're kind of similar to the embassy, except there's more interior, close quarters combat, close range attack type stuff.
So you're not adding a new region then, I guess. So this isn't like Colombia now or South America. This is still
Yeah, this
right.
is all Baghdad, except there's Baghdad embassy. This is Baghdad house.
Nice. I look forward to that, and that's coming as part of the Battle Packs Kickstarter wave, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Battle Packs Kickstarter wave, which has been sent to the printer, and they're getting back to us with the printer proofs. And then we'll confirm those printer proofs. Then they'll send us physical copies. We'll confirm the paper proofs. We'll then send those back. They'll then send us the physical copies of here's what people will actually get. Do you finally approve this? At which point we say yes, and then they go into production.
Right. I'm looking forward to that. Kandahar is one that I'm really looking forward to, in particular, in that set.
Yeah, Sarah made that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I back
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Well, Kevin, thanks
Yeah.
for going over this with me.
Yeah.
I think maybe we need to get you on more often now that you're all married. Let's get you honeymooned. We'll get you back.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get you back on the channel more. Um, so we can go over
Yeah.
some of these things as they come up and maybe even play some. You know, one of us will run the player soldier, one of us can run the squad soldiers, that kind of thing. See what kind of
Yeah.
results we get. When you two heads are not always better than one. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, it would be it'd be fun to play. Sort of a over the shoulder type. You know, you may have the physical game in front of you.
Right.
We'd be Skyping like this, and then I would say, "Oh, my squatty rolls an attack against the lone militant or whatever,"
Right.
and you
Absolutely.
die. He kills him or he doesn't.
Right.
And we could do that sort of over the shoulder for a decent part of the campaign.
Oh yeah, I totally think so. And it adds a wild card element too. That's
Yeah.
not what you were supposed to do, rookie. Well, all right. Kevin, thanks again for your time. I know y'all are busy there. I know things are coming. I've seen some proofs. Just for those of you who haven't, I thought you might like to know, Michael, if you're watching.
Yeah.
And y'all enjoy your honeymoon. I'll get this video up before you get back from your honeymoon, and we'll see where we go from there.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to doing more videos.
All right. Take care, Kevin.
Take care.